Senator Cramer, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to both generals for being here and for your incredible service. General Walters, I want to begin with you. Go back to a conversation you had with Senator Wicker, specifically about the distinction of permanent assigned forces, as we obviously see this increase now in force. And as I understand, and maybe I'll drill down a little more, he was asking about permanent assigned forces. I think the bottom line was you said we should probably grow them. What I'm wondering is, over the last several years, as we've been drawing down EURCOM, CENTCOM, or EUROCOM and CENTCOM, to prepare more forces for other places, specifically the Pacific, and you've talked a little bit with Senator Hirono about the global issue. How do we reconcile the need for more forces everywhere? Do we just grow the force, or does this management of personnel become much more difficult? And by the way, I might also ask, and how does agile combat play into all of that? We in North Dakota are very cognizant of the B-52s and the role they've played, exercising, obviously. Maybe just talk a little bit about ACE and how that fits in as well.
Well, Senator, first, agile combat employment is very helpful, whether or not you're addressing permanent or rotational forces, to be able to take a unique capability and quickly insert it into a region. And then when no longer does it deliver the effect that helps enhance peace in that region, pull it out and get it back home where it needs to be to refit and be ready to respond globally. It's incredibly important. With respect to permanently assigned versus rotational, as we've seen what has unfolded in Ukraine with respect to Russia, it's allowed us the opportunity to take a look at a whole-of-government, multi-domain force and examine what shifts we could possibly make in the future. And I contend that we would probably be wise to examine what has unfolded in Ukraine and Russia and the periphery nations, and certainly from a NATO perspective and being a commander with respect to those NATO forces, those contributions that those allies and partners have committed impacts the appropriate effect that we can deliver, which goes all the way back to how smart we need to be with respect to making the right decision, giving global ramifications on permanent versus rotational. And the answer is still, I believe it depends. There's always goodness and badness in both cases, but I think we need to be smart about it and refit just a little bit and examine what's unfolded here to make a prudent decision going forward.
Well said, and you actually anticipated my next question and answered it, so thank you. Speaking of whole of government, General Van Ovos, you probably are as engaged in the whole of government approach as much, or more importantly, probably than anybody. There are two things that you've said that one in your opening statement, and I think it was your opening statement, where you said something to the effect that I look forward to working with the Navy to satisfy restrictions in current law. I think that was regarding the building of ships, right? And could you just elaborate a little bit on satisfy restrictions in current law? Should we be changing restrictions? Are you implying that, or are you just saying there's a lot of bureaucracy we have to work through and help me help you?
Thanks, Senator. The authorization is to purchase up to 9 used Sea Lift ships, 4 ships without a requirement for new build, but in order to purchase the 5th ship, the Navy has to submit a plan for 10 new ships being built, Sea Lift or OSV, general utility type ships, so we can continue to purchase used number 5 through number 9. So while we are given, in 2021, we have now purchased 2 ships, and we've been given the appropriation to purchase 5 more used ships, but we'll only right now be able to purchase 2 more until either the law is changed or the Navy submits a plan that's satisfactory to the committees.
Understand. So we need to work on that. You also referenced in a conversation, I don't remember which senator it was, it might have been Hirono, but you've referenced the term thickening partners a couple of times, I think. And what I'm wondering is, have you seen in recent months or recent years a changing, if you will, or a growing cooperation among our partners with our partners in the Pacific specifically to allow, for example, better access to ports and navigability that maybe wasn't there in the not so distant past? Are you seeing some improvement?
Yeah, Senator, I would say we are seeing improvement. The fine points of that improvement I would leave to Admiral Aquilino. But as we look to both our military and our commercial networks, as we are increasing our activities and exercises and interoperability with our allies and partners in the Pacific, we are seeing an increase.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.